Hi everyone, it's Patty. Welcome back to my channel. For today's project, we're going to do a card and a felt project using some new felt that I got from Benzie. Benzie is new to me. I've seen their name before, but I never ordered their product before. It is wool felt and it's very wonderful to work with, far superior than the things you can get at the local big box store. I'm going to be using beading needles, some floss, some seed beads, the embroidered egg design from Pashta, and then I'll be using this egg from the Outside In Easter Egg Stackables from Lawn Fawn, and then these flowers from the MFT Adornments set, and then these leaves. So let's get started. So, as I said, Benzie is new to me felt, but it's wonderful, and it was easy to die cut. I really enjoyed it. So after you die cut it, when you use these types of dies that I'm using to cut out the egg, there's all these little holes that have felt in them. And so to clean it up so that you don't have little circles of felt, I use this lint roller to get all the little felt circles out. It worked beautifully. I really enjoyed it. It's harder on the little pieces, but on the larger pieces, it works great. So I'm just kind of figuring out what I want for my design here, and then I will get it stitched up. So one thing I did learn when doing this is that I don't care about what the back looks like. Normally when I cross stitch, I need my back to look really nice. But when I did this, I'm like, I don't care. There's going to be filler in there. There's going to be, no reason for anyone to see the back. So all these rules that I learned when I first learned to cross stitch, I threw out the window on this. And it was very freeing, I have to say. So, and then the floss that I used was just some very, very inexpensive floss that I ordered off of Amazon. And it's a little less silky than DMC if you're used to using DMC or any kind of higher quality cotton floss. So it did tangle a lot. But I did like the colors. The colors were pretty. And I feel like for little projects like this, I don't want to use my good floss because the felt is the star, not necessarily the cotton floss. You just need the colors. So I was really happy with how it turned out. But I will say if you use a less expensive um, cotton floss, it does tangle easier. Yeah, so you can see my back is all knotted up and everything. So here is where I learned a lesson. Um, with when you are doing many layers of felt and you're going to put seed beads on, you need to get your beading needle out and sew the felt to the project with the beading needle and putting on the seed beads at the same time. Because here I was stitching and I was making, so I have 3 layers of felt and plus now I have my floss. So it's a pretty thick layer and bead needles are very flimsy. So it was hard to get the beading needle through here. So lesson well learned. I didn't do it on the second flower, but on this one, and I was kind of realizing it too. So I was trying to decide, can I get a seed bead on this needle and that? But no, I could not. So stitching away, stitching away. I will say it's hard to stitch when you have to hold your arms, 18 inches in front of you so they're under the camera. So here I was checking to see if I could get a bead on this needle because I realized what I had done and I wasn't going to undo it because I hate undoing stitching. I hate it. So I try to make things work. And that was a no. So I'm finishing sewing this on and then I'll break out the beading needles. And the beading needles, if you've never seen them, they've got this giant eye, which is wonderful. So you can thread your floss through. But the eye collapses so that it can fit through the teeny tiny beads. I think I got 2 of them for $4 uh, through, I'm pretty sure I just ordered them off Amazon. So here they are, my beading needles, trying to figure out how to open it. And so they're longer and they're very skinny and they're very flexible. So yeah, I'm going to struggle here for the next few minutes trying to get it to poke through and get the beads on and everything. But it did work out in the end. It did still look cute, which I'm grateful for that. So I have to find a spot where there's not a lot of thread buildup. and it wasn't easy getting that done. So the seed beads, normally I order mine through Pretty Pink Posh. I think they have gorgeous beads. And sometimes there's issues with seed beads with the paint rubbing off them. So I love Pretty Pink Posh for this. But Pretty Pink Posh was sold out of everything I needed. And I tried for 2 weeks and they just didn't have anything. So I did end up going to Joann's and picked up a bag of their Hilda, something like that. Um, Hilda and something seed beads, and they're not expensive. They were a great price, and they worked fine, and they were great colors, and I didn't have any paint rub off or anything, so they worked great. And then I did buy a pack of the lavender ones as well for that. And then I think that's really all I needed for these. So just tying that off, like I said, I didn't care about the back on this one at all. And then just getting those extra threads out of there. So now when I add my flowers, lesson well learned, we're going to go ahead and start with the beading needle and get the proper color thread on those, plus the beads. So again, like I said, this floss, even though, and I was using 3 strands of this floss. It comes, 6 strands. Normally floss is six strands, so that's nothing different. So I was using 3 strands. I used 3 strands to stitch the eggs, 3 strands for everything. I think it's just right for these kinds of projects. And I'm sorry I'm out of frame. You get off and you're crafting and you're enjoying your time. Here I'm adding decorative stitching on those. I'm not sewing anything in the middle. I'm adding just decorative stitching on the petals of each flower, coming up in the center and then running the length of the petal going to the end of the petal, just so there's a little bit of something extra on there. And then to add the centers, we're going to go ahead and get the beading needle on. You're going, it went much better than on the last flower. So then just picking out the beads that I want out of my little container. You're going, I believe I used 5 seed beads per flower. It just seemed like the right amount, gave a little dimension. And that wooden looking thing you see laying right above my seed beads, that's my needle holder. So I keep most of my needles in there that are the same. I have 2 holders, and I've got like the dull edge that I use for cross stitch in one, and then I have the sharp needles that I use in another. And they work great. And I believe that was a purchase off of Amazon as well. Oh, and I lost my little bead. So the floss that I ordered off of Amazon, it has numbers in that on the bobbins, but I don't know what they mean because you can't order additional of these anywhere, so I'm not quite sure what was going on with that. But they did come in a nice case, all wound up on the bobbins and with dividers and everything, and they were in rainbow order. And for what I spent, I think it's worth it, even though they are horrible about. I'm just checking to see if I want anything else. I always have to do a little extra. I don't know. I go overboard. But I did end up leaving it like that. I think it looked really cute the way it is, and that's the design I wanted to do when I made the card as well. So leaving everything as is. My first flower's this accent flower is a little wonky, but that's okay. When you're having to hold your arms out in front of you to stitch, things get a little wonky. So once I am done playing around and trying to figure things out, I decide I don't want to add any extra. I go and I grab my inexpensive felt and cut 2 more eggs out of there using that same dye from Pashta. I forget what it's called, the basic, I believe. Yeah, basic egg dye is what it's called. So I have to finish cutting it out because the cheap felt didn't cut easily and beautifully like the Benzie felt did. I mean, it still works. There's a line there. Obviously, you can see I finished cutting it out, so that worked great. But I'm kind of hooked on Benzie. I make Christmas stockings every year for the new members of the family. I've got 2 that I need to make for sure for this Christmas coming up in 2024. So yeah, I've actually started writing down what colors of Benzie felt I'm going to order and go from there because it works so beautifully. So I cut 2 of these out of the horrible felt, and what I'm going to do is cut then on the inside so that I cut off all the dots and then stick these 2 inside the egg. It gives the egg a little bit of fill, just a little bit thicker, but not like when you use polyester. Or I gotta be honest, when I fill my eggs, see the scraps up in the upper right, I just cut those up and that's what I use to fill my eggs so that nothing goes to waste. I just use additional felt. The felt scraps I throw away, no felt, because you can always use it to fill your projects and it works great. Some people like polyester fiber fill. I will say it's a little smoother. I do put eggs on here that I filled with felt so you can see what it looks like. So the polyester fiber fill is a little smoother, or you can use like the interfacing that you use when you quilt a little bit, the batting for that. But I feel like this works great too. So the reason I was making all of these little eggs, here I'm creating a knot on the back, is so that I'm making a garland for my fireplace, and I'll bring in all the other eggs I have made. Those I made just with stitching in the Benzie felt, in the colors, not this cream like this one. And I used the Pashta Designs Embroidered Egg Details 2 die set to imprint the stitching on the egg. And then used felt that matched, or floss that matched the felt that I used. And I'm really happy with how they turned out. And then I got a bunch of big wooden beads and strung it on a line and then added the eggs. But I'll show you the eggs before I made that banner here. So here you can see I am stitching every other hole, and then you go around twice. That way you don't have to backstitch, you don't use as much thread, and it's much cleaner on both sides. For if some reason on the garland they should spin, you know, you'll see a clean backside of the flower. So the stitching goes really fast. Once I figured out what I wanted to do, I think it took me 15 minutes to make this egg. And then the ones that I'll show you later that I stitched on start to finish was an hour per egg. So I did it on a Sunday afternoon and then made the garland the next weekend. It was kind of nice. I was dog sitting my sister Kathy's, her name is Lucy. She's the cutest little dog. And she's a Yorkie Shih Tzu mix. And she is just a love. It was adorable. She was in my lap. I was stitching. It was cute. So I tied off that and getting more floss. And now I'm just filling in where I haven't stitched. So the ones that I left open, I'm stitching over those and getting that done. So like I said, this all in all took about 15 minutes to make. You know, and for those of us that stitch, it is very relaxing. I do have to say, if you are ever stressed out, creative projects, especially if you have to follow a pattern, are the best because you're using a part of the brain that, if you're stressed, if you go over to the creative side of your brain, it allows the stress side of your brain to relax. I don't know all the technical terms, but following a pattern allows that side to relax so that when you go back to whatever is that is stressing you or upsetting you, you are better able to deal with it. So here I am cutting out felt using my Lawn Fawn egg, and you'll see that it has that detailed stitched. They're more decorative than for stitching. But what I did was I would just go in and copy a stitch, then skip a stitch, and then go to the next stitch and create one, kind of do every other. And so it worked just like as if I had holes punched in from the Benzie, if you can see. So I just wanted to show that you can use what you have. You don't have to buy anything special. So moving on to the paper crafting portion of this marathon video, I'm coloring the same objects that I had cut out from felt, from the Benzie felt. I cut out on some scrap white cardstock, stuck it to my Misty sticky mat, and now I'm coloring it with Copics. And so for the green Copics, I used G40 and YG03. And all of this will be on my blog, thequietsister.blog. And then for the pink Copics, I try to tell you, but I just show you, but it just didn't work out well. I used RV10 and RV02 on the pink flowers. And then I'm just adding just a little bit of shading to show interest, create a little interest, a little depth on the flowers. For the yellow, I used Y00 and Y02. And I did the same for all of them. I colored it initially in the white color. Right now I'm using YR01 and YR02. Colored it in the light color, added some darker accents from the center, and then went over it again with the light color. And it worked great. So for the blues, I used B00 and B01. Sorry for the garage door opening noise. So same thing. And then to kind of show a little depth on the side of the eggs, I used C1 and C3, and I believe I had to go back in and use C00 just to make the line less bold, and then it turned out exactly how I wanted. So here, very similar design, I am gluing all those objects I just colored in a similar pattern onto the paper eggs. So we've done this with felt, now we're doing this with paper, similar looks. One's a craft project, one's a card project. Oh, I decided I was putting the flowers up with a little foam. So gluing everything down. Laid everything out beforehand. I believe I did change the medium-sized egg a little bit. The little egg is darling. I just love it. It's so cute. And again, these are all the Lawn Fawn Outside In Easter egg stackables dies from years ago, 2019, 2017, something like that. And they're just Lawn Fawn products last. They're so good. So I believe I changed this layout a little bit from what I originally had and did it more in a diagonal like I had on the original, like the bigger egg that I did, just because I liked it. So I got everything glued on, had a couple extra pieces, just put them away. Here I'm testing the extra leaves that I had to see if I want to add them. And on this egg I did, and I think I added a couple on the larger egg, and I decided against anything additional on the smaller egg. So now I'm creating my background for this. And first I'm using Distress Oxide Tumbled Glass. And then I was going to do some splatters, and I decided that was too light. So now I'm coming in with peacock feathers and a little bit of Perfect Pearls to add some shimmer, and then splattering that on, and it did like a pearlescent shimmer. It was so pretty. And then I'm using my Gonzai Tambi paints in the gem pink, and getting all of that dried and cleaning up. And so I'm going to trim my cardstock down, took 1/8 of an inch off each side, each edge, so that there's a little border when I add it to my card. So we'll get those glued down. And then I'm using a sentiment from an old Simon Says stamp set. I believe it was from a card kit. Might not have been, but it's called Some Bunny. And it's from 2017, but it was such, to me, just the most darling Easter set that I've still got it. I'm very good about purging, but some things I'm just in love with all the time, and that's one set that I'm just in love with. I just don't see me ever getting rid of it. So using some 3M foam tape, and now I'm going to glue everything down. And then I'm going to color. So these are old Hero Arts 3mm pearls. And you can use your alcohol markers to color the pearls, or if you have clear gems, alcohol markers color clear gems. And so I'm coloring those pearls, the 3mm pearls from Hero Arts, and adding them to the flowers. I'll add some to the leaves. I don't know, there's just something about Easter time and Christmas time where the extra embellishments are, that's when I add them. I'm usually not a sparkly girl, but Easter and Christmas I am. So I have colored pearls. Sorry, there goes the garage door again. My husband's on a tear with projects. So I colored the pearls, added them on the flowers, did the leaves, and it turned out so cute. And I'm really happy with just the light. I did have to bring in a little bit darker Copic. I brought in B01 because the B00 was just not bringing enough color to the pearls. And this new tool from, who is this from? Pink Fresh Studios. Love it. This one and my Gina K are my new go-tos. I love them. They work great. I had some El Cheapos from Amazon and they looked cute, but they weren't great. So finally adding my pearls to the leaves. So getting the end of the pearls onto my card, and that'll finish my projects for today. Thank you for stopping by. Have a great